And so uh, I want to try to put myself here in the shoes of an owner of a plane, or even one of the operators that you've been talking about of these jets. And so why is there no TSA checks? Because for me, I would think I want to protect my investment. Why are there these checks not happening? I'm just curious.
That's a great question. Um, a lot of it kind of goes into basically management of the clients, and obviously there are incidents that occur. I think with domestic flights, particularly, it's not as much of a concern with the people that are flying privately because the whoever represented them in buying that went through their own qualification process with that individual, or that group of people or whatever it is. Um, and that specific aircraft is contracted to do exactly what that is. So there's not the security requirement necessarily. Now, if you're flying internationally, you're coming into the United States. Obviously, that's different. You still got to go through customs, and customs and border patrol is going to come out. Like I said, that flight from Mexico that I did, customs. I was actually on the ground when they landed, which was great. I don't often get to meet my clients, but I was there for them when they landed, and every single flight that came in, there was a customs and border patrol team that came in, and they before they were even allowed to get off the aircraft, the CPP guys were out there checking their passports, making sure that they were able to get in and come back into the country legally.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. I flew from Texas to Mexico one time privately, and we actually had to stop at an airport before we crossed to get into Mexico, and then I think it was on the way back home
Yeah.
when we came back in. Yeah, and so we had to stop at another airport, and then go through the check really quick. With I guess it's TSA, right, with the security, and then we go back out. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
or it was
Yeah, it was border patrol
border patrol. Yeah, yeah.
or CPB, customs and border.
Yep, yep.
Uh, and that makes sense because not every small airport has customs or is able to support having customs there. So if you're flying into a pretty remote airport that can't get customs from their own staffing, or maybe their customs is closed at that time, like you have to make a stop at the closest port of entry in the United States to be able to clear customs and then continue on to wherever your final destination is.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, well, Shelby, we're hitting our mark here with the amount of recording that we are targeting, and so what we're going to do is we're going to start wrapping up the episode. But I don't want to cut you short. I want to give you a chance here. If there's anything that you would like to put out there to our audience, or whether it's promotional, motivational, um, whatever you would like, you have the floor, and you can do that now.
I appreciate the opportunity again for inviting me to come out and be a guest on your podcast. One thing I would leave with your guests is, if you're interested in getting into the private aviation space, or you are a current flyer, there's definitely some things to look at as far as who you're flying with, checking their safety ratings, making sure that they're a legitimate operator, making sure that the crew is qualified to do that. And those are all things that we're more than happy to help do. I enjoy having conversations with anybody and everybody about private aviation. I'm not here to try to do like a hard pitch, but feel free by any means to reach out to me if you got any question whatsoever about private aviation and how to do it, and maybe to evaluate what you're doing, see if it's making sense for you. I'll kind of leave it with that. I can drop my email here if you want. Reach out to me anytime, and I'll get back to you with an answer.